an intel analysis from one side of the table, two regional perspectives, including analysis of the problems, some of the blame from the West and from homegrown territory across Africa and the Middle East, and problems of why Daesh is able to recruit here. That raises huge problems. I'm going to throw the floor open to questions. Don't be shy. I already see 1, 2, 3. I think we'll take 3 at a time, respond, and then come back to you for another set. Okay, I saw the first question at the back. Please identify yourself and please be concise. No statements, no proclamations. It is your role as the audience to ask the question, and it's their role to respond.
No, you take it and I'll take it.
Okay? So I saw a question back there. Please identify yourself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tavan Pogosyan with Armenia Atlantic Association and member of Armenian Parliament. The question for all 4 speakers, and it's maybe one of the simplest in its presentation. What is the real actions your institutions or country taking to prevent financing of the terrorism? Because if there is no funding, there would be difficulties to act. Specifically for EU, for African countries, for the Palestinian country, what is doing, and also to Mr. Hobbs, what is the NATO structures maybe doing to stop financing mechanism? Thank you.
Excellent question. Gentleman next to you, yes, please identify yourself and keep it short.
Merci beaucoup. Mon nom est... je voudrais parler très brièvement en tant qu'observateur des relations.
Speak about the relation between Europe and the Arab countries. In your speech, Mr. Tewasat, you spoke about the values. Oh, we were speaking about the values of the West. How can we convince the public opinions in the Arab world of the truth, the sincerity of the Western speech after having heard what Mr. DAHLAN just said? Secondly, you spoke about the chemical weapons used or that might be used in Europe by Daesh. When 3 years ago Daesh used the chemical weapons in Syria, and despite the fact that the report of the United Nations was not able to prove that the regime of Bashar al-Assad used these weapons, I don't defend him, Europe and a great part of the international community said that, continued to say that Assad had used them. Then I'm speaking to Its Excellency Mr. VALL. You say that terrorists are coming from Syria, go through Mali, etc., and arrive here in Europe. Up to now, and there has been no proof that a single terrorist has come from Syria. The passport that has been found is a false passport. It belongs to a Syrian soldier that has been killed. And these terrorists were born in Europe, and many of them are Europeans, white with blue eyes. Thank you very much.
I have a question and comment.
Please identify yourself for the audience.
Yeah, I'm Tissam Al-Kitbi, President of Emirates Policy Center from UAE. Do you believe that ISIS is a symptom or a cause? And this will determine the strategies you are dealing with. If you are dealing as a cause, I think you are right. The cause is why once the Syrian crisis, the Palestinian crisis, the Iraqi crisis will not be solved, you will have ISIS phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The second one regarding ISIS through Europe. And here my sympathy with the French victims and with the Palestinian victims, with the Syrian victims, with all victims in the Arab world. We are the same. So you have, instead of pointing only on the Muslim community outside Europe, you have to ask yourself, what does make this generation born in Europe under democratic regime with freedom of expression, leaving their countries and joining ISIS? There should be something wrong with your inclusion policy, with your educational policy, and with the secular state. Those people born as Muslim, they don't have faith. They need somebody to give them this faith. So also, you have to study this phenomena. Otherwise, will be endless game. Thank you.
Okay, we stop there. Thank you very much. Okay, the question on countering the financing, a very good one. Who would like to answer that? Perhaps, I think that should go over to you, Peter. That's what the coordinator is involved in.
Thank you. I think the distinguished delegate from Armenia highlights a key point. Daesh is one of the, I think probably the most successful terrorist organization ever in terms of the revenues it generates. There seem to be three big strands. There's oil smuggling, and I think an immediate military response is required there. And I understand amongst the French and recent US raids over Raqqa, oil tankers have been a major target. Another strand is kidnapping for ransom, extortion, and sale of antiquities from Syria. And then the third strand, which is probably the most difficult to crack, is the tax, the revenues that they are able to generate from the territories that are under their control. And ultimately, it's squeezing the space, their operating space is the way you tackle that particular strand. International action on this is primarily through on terrorist financing is through the UN's Financial Action Task Force. The G20, I think, referred to this last week in their statement. There is a constant need to ensure that the members of this task force are applying the rigorous rules and procedures, their own rigorous rules and procedures, as well as those outlined in UNSCR 2178, which was the big UN resolution on foreign terrorist fighters. It's a work in progress. I don't think, we're looking, unfortunately, at an immediate solution here to Daesh's revenue streams. It's an incremental squeezing and trying to ensure that banking and regulation in Europe is certainly not vulnerable to exploitation by them. We may see something in the next day or two from European ministers on this theme.
Very well. There were your question there on the sincerity of the dialogue between Europe and the Palestinian, Europe and the Arab world. I'm not quite sure what the gist of your question is there, but did one of you want to try and address that? Did you? Mr. VALL, you have to press the button here.
Oui.
Oui.
Oui, tout à l'heure.
Yeah, there was a question asked in the form of an affirmation. How can we believe in the Arabic world and in Africa? How can we believe to Occidental values despite the fact what's happening in that continent? I would answer this question by following. I would like to affirm, to assess that the values of the Western, that are the values that we try to defend were our values before they became the values of the Occident. It was a time where the universities of Andalusia were forming European intellectuals. Remember the time where in Baghdad we were, for example, making some operations, clinical operations, where that could not be done in Europe. There was a time where Muslim civilization was really a spotlight for the other countries. And about what I'm speaking are the values of the Muslims, of that humanity. And the Occident, the Western, has had the merit to codify this and to change it into inspiration. Unfortunately, we took another way now, and unfortunately, this is not the good way of working. We have to come back to our own values, even if they are called today Occidental values, because they are universal values that belong to the whole humanity and to all men. That's what I wanted to say about this. And the second question, don't think that I want to say that Syrians are tourists. It was an illustration of my example that I gave. In that country, in sub-Saharan countries, thousands of refugees go through that zone. I gave the example of the Syrians because they are the ones that are the farthest away from that zone. Excuse me if I was not well understood, but be assured that I respect the Syrians and I thank you.
That I believe 6 Syrians with fake Greek passports were captured in South America, headed for America. What their intentions were, we don't know, but doesn't look very good. More questions, please.
I have a question.
You have a,
Can I?
You have a question?
Yes.
Ah, of course. Wait.
Firstly,
Your question? Yes, please
Yes.
do. 1, 2. Well, it's going to be in sequence 1, 2, 3. So ask your question.
my question to Mr. Peter about the financing and the trade, the oil trade from Syria. To whom Daesh are selling the oil? And how they can take the oil from Syria to where? The second question is the terror acts has been taken last 3 months or 4 months in Paris, and I've heard in the media that one of them is kept back to Syria. Through whom? Through the moon or through one country? Which country? Thank you.
Let's take 2 more, and then we'll come to you, Peter, all right? I see a wiggling hand back there. Yes, gentleman there with the beard. Please identify yourself. Microphone.
Eduardo Camilli, Chief Executive at Horizon Intelligence. My question is for Mr. Spoor. Every time there is a terrorist attack such as those in Paris last week, it is considered as an intelligence failure. Most of the attackers were already known to the French authorities and intelligence. My 2 questions are, do we have enough financial and human resources to cope with the threat? Second, do we have the most efficient legal framework to carry out preventive operation, or we do need necessary to declare a state of emergency? Thank you.
I'll take 1 more over here on the right. Let's not overload Peter with questions. He's already got enough to respond to. Questions for the other speakers, please. Yes, please identify yourself. Okay, speak loudly, that's fine. People can't hear you, so just lean into the microphone there. Thank you.
If I'm speaking the mic, I have to sit down. Okay, my name is Sadiq Elab. I'm from Libya, from the new Libyan regime. I'm an ex-member of the NTC. I have a question and a remark. My question is, someone, somewhere, somehow would like to, or should really emphasize or try to make good explanations to what terrorism means. Does it mean someone who ride a plane and kill 200 people, or someone go to the Tunisian beach and get a Kalashnikov and kill 30 people? This is very, very important to understand. Also, I add my voice to Mr. DAHLAN, to all the points he mentioned, and we really, if this is a real workshop to act to finish terrorism anywhere in the world, we should follow the points Mr. DAHLAN mentioned, and this is a pinpoint to work together. Thank you.
Let's answer those, and I promise I'll come over to the left side of the room. Okay. Peter, you need to address those questions briefly.
I would like first to come back actually to the remark made, the question posed by the delegate from the UAE. I think you asked about, is Daesh symptom or cause? I think what's been missing actually from the discussion so far this morning is a focus too on the barbarity of what the regime has done in Syria and the centrifugal extremist environment it has created. 250,000 people have died. 90%, I understand, of these casualties are inflicted by barrel bombs, by regime actions, not by... Daesh is a significant actor in that theatre, but what the Assad regime has done there to brutalize the country is something that we need to have at the forefront of our minds. And any solution to this, Syria and in Iraq, is going to involve a political transition and a political solution for Syria. I think the other part of the solution is, I feel strongly, in both countries, in rooting out Daesh, Sunni involvement in that coalition, in the action, is critical. The people on the ground there are going to need to feel that the people who are coming in are liberators. And I think that's a critical point. The other thing I think is missing is, it's easy to be very bleak and the glass half empty. We are talking about a tiny minority of European Muslims who are joining Daesh. The vast majority make huge contributions to our societies, pay taxes, are law-abiding citizens, make a great contribution, and we have to have a sense of perspective on that as well throughout here. On the oil smuggling, yeah, the question, who are they selling it through? Who are they selling it to? My honest answer, I don't know. I am aware, though, they seem to be able to exploit existing old smuggling routes in the region and are able to filter it out still through that means. You asked, too, about the escape, the fact that one of the alleged mastermind, I think, of the Paris attack had managed to come to Europe and then go back to Syria, and he's been on social media boasting about that. I think that I'd come back to my opening remarks there. That it does highlight, and it's a point somebody else made, intelligence failure. Now and then, the IRA had this famous saying, governments, intelligence agencies need it to succeed all of the time. We just need to succeed once. Inevitably, given the scale of the problem, people are going to get through. And EU Justice and Home Affairs ministers are looking at this, and we're talking about how we can tighten up the procedures to ensure there aren't any such repeats. Amidst all the intelligence failures, there are lots of successes. And I know Cameron in the UK has said the UK has frustrated 7 attacks in the past 12 months. So they are under huge strain, the intelligence services. Budgets are being increased. I know in the UK, certainly, there's an announcement from the Belgian Prime Minister this morning for Belgium. The French have declared they're going to be putting increased resource into it. So it's sadly a growth area. State of emergency? No, I don't think. I think that would be overreaction.
Very well. Okay. Ambassador de Kerkhove is going to address us in precisely 6 minutes. So I want to give the chance for one more round of questions. If you want your questions answered, pose them quickly and briefly. Yes. The lady here in front and then right behind.
Marhaba. I will speak in Arabic.
I will speak in Arabic. I will speak the question in Arabic. My question is to Mr. DAHLAN. Through your security experience in the region and also the title of the conference, do you think there is a security cooperation between the countries and the European Union and the Middle East countries? My second question, I would like to put for the panel how Europe will help the neighboring countries to Syria, especially Lebanon and Jordan, to counter terrorism of Daesh and other organized terror network. And will this kind of support will decrease after terrorism has hit Western European countries? All this support is going to continue.
please.
Yes, and me, I would like.
Please identify yourself. Button.
Yes, my name is Firas. I'm Palestinian. I'm a student here in asset management and training in European Parliament. I would like ask my question in Arabic, like my leader.
I would like my question in Arabic. As you have talked earlier about terrorism in different parts of the world, and you have talked about the terrorism of Daesh and what's taking place in Iraq and Syria and Africa, but I have found that you have tackled the what's happening now of terrorism, and you forgot the roots of terrorism. So the question is that the Palestinian cause since 1917, Palestine is still under Israeli terrorism. Why did you forget about the Israeli terrorism and you have talked about the new recent terrorism? This is my question for the panel members, all of them.
Very rare.
Dr. Platova from AC UK. My question is brief for Mr. Hobbs. You mentioned repeatedly the word prevention. Is NATO going to consider the prevent and contest British policy on counterterrorism? Thank you.
Thank you. We have to cut this off now. All right. Did you want a question? What? Yeah, you're going to need to repeat that question. Speak clearly and loudly.
The question is NATO going to consider the prevent and contest policy that is already applied in the United Kingdom, or are you looking for a new policy as counter-terrorism measure?
Okay. David, why don't you answer that right away?
I'm going to give that one a real body swerve because I don't represent NATO, but I see Bob Bell's here, and I would refer that. Yeah, who doesn't either? Yes, he's a US rep, but I don't know what NATO will do on that. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I would just like to make a comment about the remarks that have been made about Western values, and to associate myself with the remarks made by a previous speaker. We're talking about common values, which are sort of universal human values, which were mentioned. Daesh offends all those values. We share them all. It's not a religious thing. It's the basic humanity. There's far more, as Peter said, that unites us than divides us in terms of our value systems.
Very well. Mr. VALL has a question to my panelists on the right, and then you can respond to all of those questions quickly.
Thank you very much. السيد دهلان تكلمت عن
Sir Dahlan, you talked about I would like I'd like you how to bring a solution to those problems. You talk about or the possibility of the Muslim world to take a decision, collective, the right way, the right path about the explanation of Islam. What is Islam? Explaining Islam. Do you think that in all Arab countries, or all Muslim countries, for them Islam is as a political reference? Is it possible to have that Islam would not be always used in politics? Can we separate Islam from politics in the Arab countries and the Muslim countries? Is this the right way?
You've got a minute and a half. to answer that question, that deep philosophical question.
I don't think I need 1 minute. I need more.
Of course.
I wanna go back to my question, but I will answer myself. اسمحوا لي إنه إذا أوروبا.
Excuse me, if Europe deals with terrorism issues as the intellectual ones here in this, I think you are in the wrong way. On political way, you are on the wrong way. Terrorism came to Europe. Where did it come from? Nobody says. Everybody knows. All Europe knows that Daesh is dealing and conversing with Turkey. If it was with Egypt, that you probably don't like, probably you will have been talking about that more loudly, and your media will be attacking and criticizing this country. Look at yourself in the mirror. You used to tell us that. Look at yourself in the mirror. Now نحن نقول لكم أنك تقوم بالأخطاء. And this is for you, not for us, because we are get used to catastrophes, to problems, to wars, and we would.
أو قريب من مسؤولية؟ لا.
People who are in our talk, if you talk like Arabs 40 years ago. Second, terrorism in Turkey and terrorism in Syria, all of it came through Turkey. Most of you know that. Probably because you have political interests. I don't have that. I have nothing against Turkey. I am against that. I mean, I don't want that people benefit. The people who do not fight against Daesh will have some benefits, economic benefit. You are not bringing a solution. You are complicating the issue, and we Arabs will pay the price. But now we and you will pay the price. The other point is, can we separate politics from religion? Yes, we are Muslims and Arabs, Mr. President, should. Religion is being misused in politics. And all these Arab countries, they say they are committed to religion, but they use religious in politics. I'm talking about the United Arab Emirates, for example. We have about 120 nationalities. This was a country which now attracting people because there is a tolerance, religious tolerance. There are mosques, churches, there are development and work. Yes, if we want to build a future, we should take a successful example. If we use religion once in politics and then we use terrorism in politics, I am convinced that Arab countries, many Arab countries, have failed because in building in modern countries, which could be an example for the others. A few examples are the United Arab Emirates. I hope that other countries would follow this example. I hope that countries like Egypt, which was much criticized by the Western powers, can go back to its path of development and building a good governance.
I applaud your optimistic assessment there. I hope the Arab world reaches it. I have to bring this session to an end. We have our ambassador waiting for us. I want to thank Mr. SPOOR, VALL, DAHLAN, and HOBBS.
It's AM. You didn't answer my question.
I'm sorry, we're out of time, and we now have to close this panel, okay?
You didn't answer my question because you know my question and you know the answer.
Okay, fine, but you didn't state a question. Your speaking time is over, sir. Okay, I want, for all four speakers, a very interesting dialogue, and we have to now cede the floor to our next speaker. I want to thank you all. Thank you.